Well, we mentioned this a minute ago, but over the weekend, the New York Times reported on a long line of questionable decisions that led to the current water crisis in Newark. Our guest, Nick Corisnidi, shared a byline on the story. It reads, quote, an investigation by the New York Times based on dozens of interviews and hundreds of pages of public records reveals blunders at all levels of government in safeguarding Newark's water infrastructure. City officials brushed aside warnings and allowed the system to deteriorate, while state and federal regulators often did not intervene forcefully enough to help prevent the crisis. Still with us, Nick Corisnidi and Dr. John Torres. Nick, so take us through this, because the political response from the city of Newark initially when the indications began emerging was essentially there's no crisis here. And you also uncovered, technically speaking, what apparently happened to trigger this crisis in the first place.
Yeah, if you were to go back to 2015, it appears that that's when the city started tinkering with its water a little bit to deal with a problem with some carcinogens. And to do that, they started making their water slightly more acidic. Now, what that did was, for 20 years, Newark has been combating lead. It's got these ancient old pipes, and they were using this chemical called sodium silicate to prevent the lead from leaching into the water. Now, when they made their water more acidic to deal with one problem, they kind of rendered the other sodium silicate ineffective. Now, what we found in our reporting is they never did a test before doing that. The state was unaware that they were doing this. City officials couldn't produce any test that showed that when they were looking to change the acidity, they wondered what other impact it might have in their water. So that's what started the snowballing effect, at least from what our reporting shows, that brought us to 2017 when the first lead level exceedance tests came to Newark. Now, those came in June and July of 2017, and the mayor was basically, his entire message was, the water is completely safe to drink, don't worry here. Now, there's legal things that the city had to do, like start testing, mail anyone whose house specifically turned a positive test, but those were the random samples that you then extrapolate from. So for about 18 months, the entire message from the city was, these are outrageously false statements coming in about our water, and the water is absolutely safe to drink. When if you were in one of those 14 or 15,000 households that was getting elevated lead levels in their water from the lead leaching in from the pipes, that was not true. The mayor was trying to say that the water source from the reservoir was not contaminated, and that is true. But when it comes to what the residents were hearing and what was coming out of their faucets, there was a significant amount of them where that water was not safe to drink.
Dr. Torres, when you read Nick's story and you think about how big this country is and how just common political dysfunction is, and you'd have all these sort of intermingling of agencies at different levels of government. We've seen it in Flint. We've seen it in Newark. Are we likely to see this in other places?
And Steve, I think we are, because the infrastructure in this country is aged, and it has a hard problem of trying to get that up to date and modernized. And like he said, 1986 is when the standard came out saying anything after 1986, you cannot have lead pipes in the house. So what the EPA says is a house that was built before 1986 more than likely has lead pipes or lead solder that join those pipes together, so it could be leaching lead. And so those are houses that definitely need to be tested. And different sources are saying that there could be hundreds of cities out there that have similar problems, maybe even worse problems. We just don't know about them yet.
And Nick, very quickly, the mayor, just given what you've told us, given what you've reported, what's his standing in Newark right now?
He's an incredibly popular mayor. Up until this moment, there hasn't really been much of a controversy, much of a scandal for Baraka. He took over from Cory Booker, who was pretty popular, but as he left, there were a few issues. There was some rising crime, there was some budget cuts, there was some corruption at the Watershed Commission under him. So up until now, the mayor's been very popular. He's a very important ally of Governor Phil Murphy, and he's pretty well liked around the state, which is what's kind of surprised so many people, to see how his messaging and his handling with this issue has been almost contrast to how we've seen him run the city so far.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.